here it is, another edition of Out and About in Richfield, and yeah, I feel like I've been stood up. I sent an email to my co-host Pam, who's so reliable, and I said to Pam, we got this really important shoot. We've got to do it on Saturday, 8:30 in the morning, Saturday, October 23rd. And then she said, oh, hi, Vic. And then she said, well, I'm glad I didn't do it for the 16th, because 16th should be out of town.
Today is the 16th. It's a huge day here at Richfield High School.
Today's the 16th? Today's
the 16th of October. It's the 50-year celebration, the 50-year festivities for the whole event. It's all going on today.
Can you believe that was 10 years ago, the 50th anniversary? It seems like it was just yesterday. Well, we're back with another Out and About in Richfield, and well, Pam and I have taken a little hiatus. We haven't had a show on the air for a while, but we plan on starting to do a few more. And this is a great opportunity because that was the 50th, but we're coming up on the 60th. And so Pam and I are sitting here with Norm Flash and Jenny Lippert, and we are going to be talking about the 50th and what was exciting about that, and just some memories of Richfield and what's coming up for the 60th. But I guess I'd ask you guys to start off and just, what were some of the more exciting things about that huge 50th anniversary that Richfield had?
Well, first of all, credit to Norm, because he was one of the major planners of that event. I remember attending and just being overwhelmed with how many people showed up. And the school looked fantastic, and so many classes had decorated a room, and it was a lot of fun. You know, there were classes from the 50s that had all their Elvis memorabilia, and we had all the hippie days stuff from our class, 72. Wonderful program in the auditorium. It was packed full of people.
It was a fun time. You know, we worked about a year on that, and it was really a community effort. The school district came together with the community and all the classes up to that time, so it was indeed a lot of fun.
And so now we're here, 10 years later. We're actually sitting in Pizza Luce, which is the old Bridgman's, right?
Where we hung out.
Where you guys hung out. And the fun thing we're talking about again is, so it's the 60-year birthday of the high school. It's also your 60-year birthdays this year.
That's correct.
And you just
I can't believe it.
I know. Well, 60 is the new 30, apparently. That's what we've been told.
No, okay.
So that bodes well for all of us.
All right.
And so you just were here recently for a 60th birthday party, correct?
Yeah,
that is correct.
Jenny coordinated our 60th birthday party here in July.
And the theme was come back to Bridgman's, because of course that was our hangout in high school. After every football game, home game, everybody would walk down from the high school to Bridgman's. Okay. And so we thought it would be a perfect spot to have our party for our collective 60th birthdays. So that was a lot of fun. Just had that in July, so.
And so it brought back, I'm sure, a lot of memories, which we're so interested in talking with you this morning about, because Richfield's gone through a lot of changes. I mean, back in the high school, when the high school first was constructed, those were the heydays with huge graduating classes.
Yes.
Right? I think we had like the largest classes in the whole metro area.
And the whole state.
In the whole state. Okay, the whole state.
We graduated almost 1,000 kids in our class.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was kind of crazy packed in that high school back in those days.
And so what was it like back then to be in high school here in Richfield?
Very exciting, I thought. Something going on all the time.
You know, Richfield has always had high standards in education, and I just think that we were so privileged to be a part of the school system at that time. In a way, you felt like you were going to a private school, even though it was a public school. The parents were all involved, the administrators wanted nothing but the best for us, and it was just a great time to be in the schools here.
The sports were fantastic, and Richfield was always in contention for something. Football, hockey, basketball. There weren't girls' sports, of course, before Title IX,
right.
But we followed the boys' sports very carefully. My friends that were girls that were athletes did their own thing, like they did tennis or golf or softball, but it wasn't sanctioned by the state like it is now.
Yeah.
So.
But didn't you say you were in band?
Yeah. I was in band. Band was fun. Our band
what was it
huge.
like? You were talking earlier to us about practice. You just go through, practice on the city streets in the neighborhoods?
When I was little, they did that. Miles Lundahl, the director, would have the marching band practice in the streets around the high school, and we'd hear the band and I lived not too far from the high school, we'd hear the band and we'd just go running over there in the evenings and follow along. And they always played, "Hey, look me over," that song. And we would follow them through the streets. I'm sure they wouldn't do that now.
I don't think they do. Yeah.
Well, Norm, we were talking after the 50th. One of the things about the 50th that you thought was really cool was the whole idea of Miles Lundahl and the piece he did. And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's interesting. Ginny mentions Miles Lundahl as the band director. He was the band director here for 35 years. He was, I think, one of the pillars on the teaching staff there. Everything was done to the highest standards. Richfield went to all the parades around the state, the main parades, I should say, and he just had a real style of excellence. And as we were planning the program for that day, just different names came forward, and I just thought it had to be Miles Lundahl. I just had that. Although I wasn't on the band, I know that Miles really influenced the lives for many people who were in the band. And so anyway, I decided to call him up and see if he was interested. And to our benefit, he said yes. So that's how we were able to get Miles Lundahl here to help with the 50th anniversary program. The interesting thing is he wasn't on the program. He was kind of a secret guest, so nobody knew he was going to be here. And so it was kind of neat to see the response from the audience that day.
Well, I think we should take a look. I mean, it's worth it. It's a few minutes. Let's replay that. What happened that day when Miles Lundahl made his appearance?
Anyway, they gave me the piano score for this thing, the words and 2 lines of harmonization, and it was my job to arrange it for band. So I got the trombone part and the baritone part, and then the various harmony parts put up, and got it figured up, and mailed it out to all the Lake Conference schools, so that our school songs be played at those schools as well. So now you've heard the story of the evolution of our school song, and now we're going to hear Colleen Fisher and this fine man play our school song.
We just heard the Richfield School song, and what was kind of special about that is it's an original school song. No other school actually in the nation has that melody or even something close to the words. That's how kind of special it is. And Miles Lundahl, in cooperation with other people, produced that song. And so that's one reason we for sure had to sing it that day, October 16th, 2004.
Oh, neat.
Oh, that's
So it's
cool.
Kind of a fun memory.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Well, talking about memories, let's talk a little bit more about memories, because you guys both grew up here. Where'd you grow up, and what did you do as kids, and what was your neighborhood, and what was it all about?
Should I start?
Please start.
And remember to cut me off if I go too long. Well, first of all, I was born in South Minneapolis. We lived near Lake Nokomis back in the day, and then my parents decided that we needed a larger home, so they bought a home on 72nd and Garfield for $13,000. And it was kind of a wreck. It was a handyman special. They spent a whole year fixing it up, but it became a beautiful home for us. And that was 1959. And fondest memories were just kids everywhere. There were so many kids in our neighborhood. Of course, the baby boom generation. Many families had 6, 8, 10 kids in these small homes. I don't know how they did it. But there were so many kids to play with. That's what I remember. And the moms were home back in those days, and so you would just go outside and play. They didn't see you till lunch, and then we'd go back outside and play until they hollered for you to come in for dinner. It was a very different time.
Yeah.
That way.
That's interesting. A safe environment. Mom didn't worry about the kids being out. I mean, there were somewhere in the neighborhood with a bunch of other kids, but everybody felt safe and everybody thought, yeah, this is the way it is. And we come home, you got to be home for lunch or dinner or whatever. You might get in trouble otherwise.
Right.
But other than that, nobody really worried about it.
Nobody worried. And all the moms were home, so they knew you were safe somewhere.
Yeah.
And they could hear us yelling and laughing throughout the neighborhood. So that was a big difference. Lots of fun.
I grew up 7124 Oak Grove Boulevard. Jenny and I were actually neighbors in terms of just being a few streets away. And we also went to Central School. We were in the same kindergarten class at Central. And I think what Jenny mentioned is true. The kids ruled this community at the time. There were so many kids everywhere. I think our parents kind of thought that really nothing could be too good for our kids. Our kids, just deserved a lot, and they gave it to us at the time. And very special memories, and a lot of togetherness in terms of community, and just a lot of very good memories. But I think just the excitement during the time, new houses growing up, new streets going in, the new pool. When we were in first grade, that's when the Richfield pool was built, and so just an exciting time.
The pool, I have to say that whenever, because I've been around Richfield for a very long time, and Richfield is no different than any other community, whenever you have change, significant change, there's always controversy that goes with it. And there was a lot of controversy at putting in that pool back in the day, but I would have to believe that pool was a great amenity for the kids growing up, and it still is, and we've added to that pool. And if you rode by that pool last week on some of the hot days, you wouldn't believe all the kids in that place.
Yeah.
But
what a great thing.
What about the pool? Yeah. What was it like for you?
Well, we lived
that
there
brand new
during the
pool?
summer. We lived there during the summer, day
Yeah.
in, day out. It was the highlight of our summers, many of us. I worked at the pool between my 9th grade year and my sophomore year at Richfield High School. That was also a good memory. But during the summers, that was a place to be, wasn't it, Jenny?
Absolutely, every day. And you know what's so funny? Once again, back to the times where moms didn't worry. I rode my bike every day. Now, keep in mind, I lived near the high school, and I rode my bike every day over to that pool. I had to cross many busy streets.
Oh, yeah.
On my little bike, and we had a season pass, and I would give my number, and I'd spend the whole day there. My mom would give us a dime, because that's what an ice cream cone cost. So I was there all day, got an ice cream cone, and then biked all the way home, and the moms didn't really worry about us.
Yep.
There were lifeguards there, you'll be fine.
And tell us too, so the library, which is now our community center.
Yes.
But that was another place that you spent a lot of time at.
Exactly. In fact, I was a Girl Scout, and we had our Girl Scout meetings in the basement of the library, and it was new for us at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Did you go to the library, Norm?
I went to the library a lot. Just walking, of course, walking from Oak Grove Boulevard down 70th Street to the library.
It was very nice.
A lot of time was spent there, too, yeah.
Another thing that I just thought was terrific, the Parks and Rec programs in the summer.
Oh, yeah.
At all the elementary schools, and it was free. I mean, we would just wander over, and the big thing was to play box hockey. I'm not sure if you're familiar with
I
that.
don't know what that is.
But it was, I don't know how do you describe it, a big rectangle with little boxes, and you had a stick and a hockey puck, and the idea was to pin somebody in the corner so they couldn't get out. And there would be huge lines for your turn to play box hockey. And then the other game I remember was, now we'd call it Mancala, but we called it beans. And it was, they had all the little boards and the little beans and all these arts and crafts and baseball and whatever. They had all these leaders to help us kids play, and it was free. We just wandered over, and it went on most of the summer, I think, didn't it, Norm?
It did.
Those
It
summer
did.
programs?
It was just ongoing. A lot of activity.
And where else did you hang out? You hung out here at Bridgman's.
Right.
Right. My home was on the shore of Wood Lake.
Oh yeah, tell us about that.
And
What was
so
it like?
my playground was actually Wood Lake in the back.
And once again, no supervision, right? Running around.
All
Wood Lake,
around.
No supervision.
And that's before 35W went through.
Right. When my parents moved here in 1941, Wood Lake was a very, very nice lake, one of the premier lakes of the Twin Cities area. And then,
that's right.
and we have pictures of the lake and home movies of the lake being a very nice lake. But as time went on, due to the freeway construction plus other things, I guess that, we just had some issues with the lake. But still, it's a very nice nature center to this day.
Norm, that's very interesting. You are so right. When I first came here and became familiar with Richfield, I remember being on some of those backyards, looking at some backyards of some homes, and I forgot what avenues there are, but they were at one time the shoreline of what was Wood Lake.
Lakeshore Drive, like on the west side of the freeway, was actually Lakeshore property back then.
Right.
I know because my mom grew up over there.
Okay, and there was
She used to go down to the lake.
and there was on the other side too. I mean, I was astounded at how big that lake once was. Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, in today's world, I don't think you could ever build a highway and take out a lake like that.
Doubt it.
But I doubt it, because Wood Lake would be like Wood Lake is. So that was a different time. But you're right, a completely different Wood Lake. And Richfield made the best of it and made a nature center out of what was left of Wood Lake. And I think made lemonade out of lemons basically.
It's true.
And made
It's
something
true.
really good out of it.
Yes.
Well, Richfield, you were in close proximity to, the stadium, the Met Stadium. You're in close proximity to Southdale, and those are all new and exciting things.
Right.
for
Jenny
Richfield,
worked
too.
at the stadium, right?
Yes, I was an usher at the stadium for the Twins games.
Fun.
That was a
Wow.
lot of fun. And at Met Center for the North Stars during the winter.
Yeah, no kidding.
Of course, now it's Mall of America.
Yeah.
But it was a really fun place to work, and tons of kids from Richfield, Bloomington, and Edina worked there. So it was a big social thing to work there in the summer. It was a lot of fun. We went to Southdale a lot. Our friend Renee was mentioning that she remembers paying 10 cents to get on the bus to get to Southdale. We did that. And the hockey rink, of course, was new when we were in high school, right? That was a huge, fantastic
Okay.
addition.
I think the Hub Shopping Center opened about the time we came along too.
Yeah.
I think
So
it was
back
kinda
when there was
new.
Corner Plaza?
There was
Corner Plaza, that's
Yeah.
where we
All
bought a lot of clothing, and all the sports equipment was Corner Plaza. And there was a bakery there. My mom went to the bakery. Red Owl was the grocery store we went
that's
through
right.
on 66th and Nicollet.
Yeah.
Right.
And there was no Rainbow Cub or Costco or anything like that back in those days.
Well, now you look out at the environment here and in this immediate neighborhood, and it's changed. And so, as someone who grew up in Richfield in a different time, and then taking a look at it now, what do you think? What do you think about the Richfield you're driving through now and visiting now?
Well, let me respond to that first.
Yes.
I'm really impressed by what I see here because it's one thing to stay still, which in some ways we would like to do, but realistically we can't do that. We need to move forward. And I see Richfield as a community that's really moved forward. As I look out the window here and look in this area, I see progress. I see a lot of development. I see improved roadways. As good as it was back then, we thought it was the best. And it was very good, but I think it's even better in many ways now. What do you think?
Oh, I exactly agree. When I drive around, especially the area, I grew up near Lyndale, so that's kind of near to my heart. And when I look at the development all along Lyndale and see the beautiful shops and the beautiful apartment buildings and now the new grocery store, the co-op, and so forth, wow, it's very impressive. And you're right, you can't stand still, and you can't look back and say, gee, back in 1964, it was just fantastic. You can't live back in 1964, and I think the community has just grown in such positive ways with all the development and the change that's needed.
You bring up an interesting point because I think we all look back at, I look at my hometown of what it was like when I grew up, and I go back there now and it's not what it was. Unfortunately, because of the economy up in northern Minnesota, they don't have the luxury of having the kind of development that we're having here. But I think I think it's fair to say that the Richfield that you grew up in at the time you grew up was a great place just the way it was. And times change and things change and people change and to stay a great place, you're right. Things have to change to be what folks today expect as opposed to what they did back then. I may even mention the library. I think with all the access kids now especially, have to the internet, instantaneous information, things like the few times I went to the library, back in the day, that's where you got your information from.
Right.
Because you didn't, unless you had, well, even if you had encyclopedias at home, you didn't have current information. Well, you went to the library, and now you want information, just dial it up on your computer, or heck, on your iPhone, and it's in your hand. And so, again, things change, and and again,
But it's looking for those
changing.
new meeting places, like
Yeah.
you hark back to being here,
Right.
but now Pizza Luce is a big meeting place, or or it's from a city standpoint, it's kind of developing these new meeting places, if you will, for all age ranges, and kind of being responsive to that. But it's exciting to see how things change, and you have to anticipate that a bit.
Right. And yet continuation too, like the Richfield pool,
Right.
we lived there pretty much, but kids still do.
They still
Yeah,
do.
and they
and
still
it's
do.
expanded and gotten nicer and nicer over the years.
I think you're right. Now, Pizza Luce right here, we remember Bridgman's being here. And Bridgman's, I mean, it's a great memory, but we come in here today, and what a great place. New, refreshing, very current, and good food. So, there's an example of things actually getting better.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
a lot of
thanks.
great things.
Well, it's good to kind of to reminisce sometimes and take a look at what are the important things that happened in Richfield and in years gone by, and what does that mean to the people who grew up here? Now, maybe a lot of folks may have moved out of Richfield and moved into another suburb here in the Twin Cities, but I think there's still a lot of connection back to Richfield.
We talked about that at our 60th party that we threw for ourselves, that we had so much in common. Even if we didn't live in the same neighborhood, just being from this community, we had so much in common. We all experienced very similar things growing up. And it's a lot of fun to talk about.
Jenny and I both worked in the 4th of July parade. We ran the route, if you want to say that. And we handed out candy to the kids, and the adults too got some candy too.
And we had our Henry's Hamburger Float.
Yes.
Henry's Hamburgers used to be on 63rd, where the co-op grocery is now.
Oh, okay.
And that's where we got our hamburgers. So, and we still have the float, because our classmate Gil Severson was able to procure the sign
Yes,
when
he
they
did.
were taking
he
it
kept
down.
the sign, but even by walking through that parade, I saw a lot of civic pride. I saw a lot of enthusiasm, and it just, every time I come back here, but especially 4th of July, it's like, it's the place to be.
And there were thousands of people
Oh, yeah.
viewing the parade as we walked by. I was so impressed with how many people showed up.
Yeah.
It was great.
Well, to kind of move a little bit forward, 60th is is there anything going on for the 60th? The 50th was huge. I don't know exactly if there's any kind of a plan for a 60th. Are you
I think
aware?
there's some talk about doing something. I'm not sure about exactly what. I know that by sitting here and having the emphasis on the city this time, 10 years later, is kind of neat. But I'm sure that all of us Spartan fans are thinking about the 60th anniversary in our hearts, and just glad to be part of that school.
Yeah.
And the school is doing very well from everything I read about it. I mean, everyone I talk to that's part of that school says they love being there. So very happy to see that. You don't want to see your school deteriorate, and it's not.
No.
Yeah.
It's doing very well.
Obviously, a lot of pride in Richfield, in the city and in the school.
Absolutely. We had a great experience at that high school, didn't we, Norm?
We really did. It was a great, at that time, 3 years, and just real good memories. And although it was the largest high school in the state, I think all of us really felt that it was the place to be in terms of our high school years. So that was great.
My 5 years in high school was a great memory for me, too. I feel really good about it now.
So, well, anyway, we want to wish Richfield High
Yeah.
School a happy 60th birthday then.
Yes,
Definitely.
we do.
And,
I want to thank you, Ginny and Norm, for coming down and sharing your memories and talking about the 50th and potentially the 60th and of course your 60th party, which I still can't believe.
Happy birthday to both of you as
We
well.
can't
Oh, my
believe
God.
it either, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, but,
We're all still shaking our heads that we're
Yes.
60.
if I can mention something, Steve and Pam and Jenny, toward the end of the program, there was a real special part, and that had to do with Richfield Choir.
Oh, yeah.
And, the whole program in October 2004, I thought was unforgettable. I think it was hard for all of us to really pick out the parts that were the best. However, between the Miles Mundahl piece that people just saw, and then this upcoming piece, I think, of the choir singing God Bless America, that to me was pretty special too. So, I think people will look forward to hearing that too. Richfield Choir.
Well, I think we should end the show on that note. And as you listen to God Bless America by the choir from back in 2004, thanks for watching. Until we see you next time, out and about in Richfield.